Good morning and welcome back. My name is Ian. I'm a voiceover artist originally from the US, doing my best to renovate a cottage in the Czech countryside. The season is finally changing, the snow's slowly disappearing, and me and the cats are definitely enjoying the warm sunshine and the change in the weather. With the coming of spring, a new opportunity has presented itself, though it will completely change almost everything in my life at the moment. But before we get into that, I wanted to have one more look around the place I have called home for the last 3 years. Whereas my previous videos have been about kind of introducing myself or taking you on walks around here while the snow was everywhere, because I didn't get enough of that back in Atlanta, Georgia. This time it's going to be a bit more focused on the village itself. A place called Ruda, population just over 60, about 40 kilometers from the city of Olomouc. And yeah, let me show you around a bit. I think it's interesting anyway. After a short drive up from Olomouc, and just past the cities of Unichov and Stenberg, the flat lands start to rise and the hills of the Jeseniki Mountains begin. As you climb up near 600 meters above sea level on a poorly maintained road, a definite issue with those of us residing here, you'll reach the village of Ruda, just across the border to the Moravian-Silesian region. There's more here than meets the eye. And though we don't have a shop, there is accommodation and a pub in the old school building. Well, when the owner decides to open the doors, that is. But it's the history and the people that are also fascinating. The oldest record of the village is from 1348, with the main source of wealth for the area being mining of gold and silver originally, and then later iron ore. And in the 16th century, the population here was as high as 900 inhabitants. There's an interesting story concerning one of the local magistrates whose horses got frightened on his way to the waterfalls nearby, throwing his wagon off into a ravine. As he survived unhurt, and being a pious individual, he decided to build a church here, which was completed in 1758. He also started the building of the 14 Stations of the Cross leading up the hill that crown the village, and which are now a big draw to visitors to Ruda. Sadly, mining declined over the next 100 years and many moved away. World War I and II also drastically affected the local population. And after the defeat of the Germans, life was forever altered here. However, many traces of the older German residents can be seen everywhere. In the structures of the buildings and cottages, the wells, the monuments, statues, and memorials. And what I find interesting are those that have lived here for longer and have more roots in the village, who always have bits and pieces of stories to tell about the past and what it was like decades back. And this has always been something that has kept me much longer in all the places I have lived before. Though the original idea was to travel and see new things, I end up wanting to get to know the culture and life in everywhere I see. So I stay and experience it, and learn, and I fall in love with all of it. I had a friend who loved to call this place a prdel, a Czech word meaning ass, basically, in this context, meaning a backwater town in nicer terms. But I think that's really unfair to both the village and the people living here. I truly believe you can find something stunning and beautiful almost everywhere. and Ruda is no exception. Though it may be lacking in amenities on certain levels, and though there may be some people others may consider rough around the edges, the closeness to a bigger cultural center like Olomouc and its location near to castles, nature, trails, and places to get away from it all, as well as the amazing views, more than make up for it in my mind. And concerning the locals, the past few months have taught me to be a lot less judgmental. I've been through a lot of tough times recently and in the past, and those here that just observe me never see the real reasons why I behave like I do or why I am what I am. I would hate for them to label me without all the facts. This goes the other way too. Maybe that person I saw always drunk or acting strange to me went through something before that they just couldn't heal from. Maybe life dealt them a much tougher hand and there was no one there to help them get through it. Or maybe they are really just assholes. But the point is that I don't know. And until they tell me, I think I should give them the benefit of not being too harsh in how I perceive them. This also affects how I see those I call my closer friends now. I've come to realize that I have not been spending as much time really getting to know some of those around me as well as I should have. Absolutely of my own doing, I had been so busy being tied up in another person's life that I had forgotten to take care of my own. And as lovely as many people are in that circle I was surrounded with, I was still on the outside looking in. Though there are a handful that I have really bonded with, they weren't all my friends per se. They were there by default. So I've tried to be more open and inclusive recently, to much greater reward. And one weekend before my life was about to flip sides again, I got together with those closer ones that mean something to me for a hike to the nearby falls and an evening of grilling, drinks, and the first outdoor fire of the season. And to say goodbye. At least for the time being, that is.
What about Song of Durin?
I'm not familiar with the Song of Durin. You'll have to teach us a songy.
Umgi. Come, Grubby.
But after a lovely night of chatting and catching up, I needed to spend some time with my cat Coco and finish planning my trip and the new life that's coming just around the corner. Good morning. So it begins. The ride to Ballstad, Norway. A whopping 3,000 kilometer run. Gonna take a few days to get up there. It's day one. Interesting stuff coming, I hope. See you on the way.